We're here back at a special podcast. We are doing it virtual today, but we have Andrea Pass from Andrea Pass Public Relations. Good morning, Andrea. How are you today?
Good morning, Tom. Doing well.
Excellent. So you and I got connected, so that the listeners know, through a Facebook page for small business and entrepreneurs, which is really cool. That you're in Bergen County, and I'm sitting here in Monmouth County. Not that we're that far away. For those that don't know the Jersey, the Garden State, but we're probably every bit of an hour to 15 minutes away from each other. But yet, through Facebook, we've been connected, and we found out that we have a local business real estate agent that we have in common, who's down in the Belmar area. So that's very cool.
It's a small world.
It is definitely a small world. So you've been at this game of public relations for 30 plus years. You've been on your own for 5.5 years. So kind of tell us the story. So 25 years you're working for somebody, and then in the last 5.5 years you went out on your own and took the challenge on. So kind of go a little into that.
It's interesting because you don't realize the benefits of being an entrepreneur or a solopreneur till it happens to you.
Oh yeah, it's
So
the
I never
gray hairs.
thought,
I totally understand what you're talking
yeah,
about.
but you don't realize it. And then I worked for a number of public relations agencies. I started out at the CBS radio division in New York City doing media relations, and then moved over to working for local PR firms and climbed the ladder at those
Mm-hmm.
smaller to medium sized firms. Most recently, before starting my own, I was working for a Los Angeles based PR firm remotely. And so I was doing the remote thing way before other people were doing the remote thing. And like I said, about 5.5 years ago, it was perfect timing. One door was closing, and my clients kept saying, "Why aren't you in business for yourself? You're the one doing all of the work. Why are you not reaping the benefits?"
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "You know what? You're right." And I started Andrea Pass Public Relations, and I haven't slowed down since. And
God
I've had a
bless. That's
steady
awesome.
stream of clients, even throughout the pandemic. And, I'm always meeting new people. I think that's the benefit of running your own business. You could decide how much you're working. When do you need to take some time off to take care of a family member?
Mm-hmm.
Or you could take a vacation. But there are times I've talked to clients from the beach in Mexico, or from a cruise ship in Alaska, or from touring in London. It has to get done. I'll do it, but it doesn't mean I'm working 24/7 when I'm on a vacation. So being an entrepreneur and running my own public relations consultancy it's been wonderful. I'm really loving it.
That's fantastic. And I think you nailed it. Kind of, you have that, what you have to do to get it done, and when you need to be there and when you can, dip out and go on a little vacation. But while on vacation, know that, your phone might ring. I think that's, a lot of entrepreneurs live that life, and a lot of people understand that that's part of the grit of being in your own business. Now, looking at, when you think about that jump, was it a scary jump for you, or was the time? Did you feel like the timing was just right on that?
The time was right. And it was so exciting because when I established my LLC, and I said, "Okay, I'm ready." And I had a friend of mine who was a photographer who did kind of a gritty website, something down and dirty, so I would have a website.
Sure.
And I knew so many people. So I had a steady stream of clients within 4 days.
Wow,
And then I
that's
had to
great.
stop accepting clients. So and when people tell you that relationships matter, it's the truth, because we do business. It's corny with people we know, like, and trust, but it's the truth, because people find me on LinkedIn, or
Hmm.
find me through other people who've known me for years, or maybe we lost touch, or they forgot my name and then remembered my name. And so those relationships really were the backbone of me starting my public relations firm and growing it. And to this day, I'm still in touch with those people from 15 years ago. And yet every day I'm meeting new people and I'm learning new things.
That's
So
really
that's the
great, and
benefit.
it's a testament to your character, because, again, to be able to keep a relationship for that long, and that people want to refer you and know that you do nice work and know you do quality work. That's super important, especially in the world of small business owners. This morning, actually, funny. someone I worked with 18 years ago when we both worked in corporate America reached out to me on Facebook actually about getting on the podcast, and she's doing some really cool stuff. And she went out on her own roughly the same time I went out on my own. Our paths have crossed over the years, but not often. But she saw a post about women entrepreneurs that were looking to get on the podcast in the third quarter because we have some availability, and we feel like we want to get it more to a 50-50 split of men and women entrepreneurs, because when we look at our client base, it's both, it's roughly a 50-50 of people that are watching it. So we wanted to get more women entrepreneurs on. So she reached out, and we just had a quick conversation this morning. But it's great when you have somebody from 10, 15, 20 years ago that you still, that there's a connection to, and still want to do business together.
Exactly. And then you've kind of watched each other grow and
Mm-hmm.
change over the years. And having that history, even if there's a break in the action of when you spoke, you still have that history.
Sure.
And I was speaking with a colleague the other day who now lives in Hong Kong, and she was someone I had hired to work for me many, many years ago. And we've always stayed in touch, but we hadn't talked in about 2 years. And she's going for a master's in the psychology of business. And we had this fascinating discussion. I mean, she's doing remote from Harvard in Hong Kong. And I said, I run a networking group called Access Success Networking. It meets once a month, the third Thursday of the month, 2 p.m. Eastern. I said, would you be our guest? Because I bring in educational speakers.
Mm-hmm.
And other networking groups are about the elevator pitch. If I hear one more elevator pitch, I'm going to go stir crazy because people don't know how to do an elevator pitch, and it goes on and on and on. You can't do 12 things well. And I said, but I think you'd be a good speaker for my group that's educational to understand the psychology of entrepreneurism and of business. And so in the fall, she's going to be a guest of mine. And so here it is. She never expected to be a guest that I'm running a networking group. And so I think that those connections help when you're growing a business and keeping a business stable for as many years. And I'm proud of how far I've come with Andrea Pass Public Relations, and I'm excited for the future.
That's awesome. So, I mean, at the pandemic, things must have changed in your world for hopefully the better. But I mean, there must have been some shifts in how you did business and who you did business with. So go into that a little bit.
It's so funny. This topic just came up in a networking call earlier today. And there was that shift, but the shift was that whereas before, my lane is press coverage. Public relations has a really wide umbrella, but mine is securing coverage in the media so that there's a difference in your business, that people are learning about your business and your expertise, your product, your service, your book, your nonprofit, whatever it is, through media coverage, which is in essence third-party editorial endorsement.
Mm-hmm.
Because instead of you talking about you, someone else is talking about you.
It's always better when someone else talks about you. There's more credibility.
100%.
There's more, it's not like anybody can bang their chest and say they're the greatest person at whatever they do. But when other people say it, that's really when it, I think, resonates with the potential.
Yeah. And I think that understanding your lane and then working from your lane and growing your lane. So during the pandemic, suddenly I couldn't pick up the telephone and call an assignment desk and say, I'm looking for the reporter covering XYZ, or can you connect me with, Joe Schmo?
Yep.
I couldn't do that anymore. And emails were getting a bit overwhelming. Yep. And that's a bit of a challenge because it's overwhelming.
Yep.
So it's really finding that balance. And the balance that I found was always researching. I call myself a PI in PR. I'm a private investigator looking for the next public relations opportunity. And so finding the way to get press coverage and creating those relationships with media outlets during the pandemic benefited my clients because I was reaching out in a way that resonated with the reporter, the producer, the podcaster, and it worked well. And understanding that the pivot came because there was a growth in homegrown journalism, in folks that didn't necessarily go to college to do broadcasting or print journalism. They decided, wait, I have an audience. I want to reach out to that audience on my blog, on my newsletter, in my podcast, on my Facebook Live or LinkedIn Live. And I went that direction to secure media coverage for my clients. And it really benefited them. And then I have these strong relationships with folks so that people are talking to my clients, and my clients are getting those sales or inquiries about their services because of the press that I'm securing on their behalf. So there was a pivot, and I met a lot of people I never met before through networking, and people hired me through referrals through networking. And it's all worked out very well. So we went through a rough time, and I will not discount the rough time and the lives lost. Uh, but we have to move forward, and
Mm-hmm.
luckily we are moving forward.
That's awesome. And now, now you work with more entrepreneurs and authors and stuff like that, right?
I have a really great base of small businesses, entrepreneurs, consumer products companies, and authors. And so working with these different categories has been wonderful because when you work with authors, they've put their blood, sweat, and tears into that book. And so it's exciting to get coverage for that book. I prefer nonfiction to fiction, but I've
Mm-hmm.
done fiction books as well. But in nonfiction, you're educating your audience on whatever that topic might be, or you're filling them in on something that is truthful and factual and educational. And consumer products, it's wonderful when there are new consumer products out there, and often created by entrepreneurs
Sure.
and service-based businesses. So right now, I'm working with a funeral home of all things. I mean, most people never thought to interview someone from a funeral home. And so I'm getting interviews for my client to talk about why pre planning a funeral helps your family in the long run. It's paid for, it's done. Your family just has to make a phone call and everything's handled.
Sure.
And, working with a virtual assistant company, why a virtual assistant is going to help you avoid burnout. And they specifically have US college educated virtual assistants as opposed to someone who does not speak English as a first language or is not based in the US.
That's a really
And I'm
great.
working
That's a
with a,
great one because I think a lot of the virtual assistants, aren't from here, so sometimes it's a little bit harder and there's a barrier. But that's great that you're working with someone that is doing it U.S. based.
yeah. And so it's exciting. I mean, I'm working with an entrepreneur who created a, 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 a hot cereal made from acorns,
Wow,
all natural heirloom ingredients. So he's just rolling out in Whole Foods and a number of other retailers across the country. He's in Texas, he's in Chicago, he's online, he's in the Northeast. So it's a very exciting time to work with him. So these are just examples of some of the types of clients
it,
that I'm working with, and it's exciting.
if you want that, shout out one of your clients' name. We'll tag them in the comments if you'd like.
We have Folk Revival hot cereal. So that's very, very exciting there. We're working with River City Virtual Assistants, which is very, very exciting. And I'm an author in a new book called Heart Centered Marketing. So I'm now a published author, which I'm very excited
That's
about.
really
And
cool.
the book just came out. And my chapter is all about driving sales using public relations.
And is that being sold on Amazon?
Of course, it is on Amazon. What isn't?
Yep.
And we established bestseller status as bestseller marketing book and bestseller Kindle Women in Business book. So
That's
it's exciting to
fantastic.
say I'm a best-selling author.
Yeah, that is really great. I think at some point I'm going to write a book, but I'm not there yet. But it's
When
on
you're
my
ready, I know
mind.
small book publishers I can connect you with to help the process.
That will be awesome when the time is right. It's funny. Monday to Friday, it's what it's like. It's the grind. You're in and out. You're doing as much as you can, and then like on a Sunday afternoon, I'll be sitting around and I'll say to my wife, I think maybe I'll write a book, soon. And then Monday happens again, and the book loses its momentum to the following week.
And really, folks who write books, they have to block out the time. They
Yeah.
know they are going to spend this time on Monday, Wednesday, Friday writing. And if you don't block out the time, and I know that once I started in business, this was the challenge when I started Andrea Pass Public Relations. You
Mm.
ready? Eating lunch. I was eating lunch at 3 in the afternoon, and
Yep.
I get really cranky if I don't eat. And I said, this is not working for me. People are booking meetings or I'm booking meetings,
You got to put it right in the
and
schedule. Lunchtime.
it's in the schedule. I now put lunch in the schedule. And so I know that I'm going to eat lunch and not get crabby in the afternoon.
Yeah, that's good because you don't want to have a client upset because you didn't have lunch.
Yeah, one should not eat lunch at 3 in the afternoon
No,
when one had
it's
breakfast at 8 in the morning or
it's good
7
for
in the morning.
nobody.
Yes. No.
So now in the public relations world, so when you look at like your clients and how do you find them? Is it all referral based and like LinkedIn? Are you finding them through? How is your new acquisitions coming in? Has the book generated some potential leads for you, or how's that going?
Yeah, I mean, number one, I am a client of mine. So for any public relations person or a consultant who does not go out and do press on their business, shame on them.
Sure.
So I am a client of mine. Here I am as a guest on your podcast talking about Andrea Pass public
Mm-hmm.
relations. So I'm out there talking about my business. And so I'm staying relevant
Mm-hmm.
because when interviews post, I'm tagging, I'm sharing again in a few weeks and in 3 months and in 6 months. Because for those people seeing it for the first time, it's new content to them.
Sure.
So I'm getting my business by a lot of meeting people, networking, referrals, and folks from the olden days coming back. So it's really a great combination. I have people who hear me on a podcast or read an article I'm quoted in that will reach out to me and say,
That's
"Can we
great.
talk?
Yep.
I'd like to hire you." And I think the biggest challenge in today's world, especially with entrepreneurs or authors, is finance. And they'll talk to me, "Oh, can you do this pro bono?" Like, no, I'm not running a pro bono business.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
I'm not costing what a major New York City public relations firm is charging, but I get paid for my services. And so I'm affordable, and public relations should be in that marketing mix for any business.
Yep, it's got to be a line item budget item because otherwise it can get passed by or not thought of in the same light that you need it to be thought of.
Well, I think that a lot of people think you have to be, Bill Gates or Warren Buffett to afford public relations. So they discount it because they don't understand that it is more affordable than advertising.
Yep.
Advertising, you take out a glossy ad in a magazine, that's going to cost you a lot of money and it's a one and done. And
Mm-hmm.
people know it's an ad. They're skeptical because they know you put those words there. And in press coverage, it's giving you that endorsement, that education, that quality, and that content that you can use over and over again.
Yep.
So I
Oh,
think that it's
absolutely.
educating entrepreneurs that helps them grow their businesses.
Yep. And I mean, how do you show clients a return on press because it's a little bit harder to quantify than like you said that glossy magazine because you could put a tracking number on that, you could have a QR code go into a website. So how are you quantifying, or what's your kind of thought process for entrepreneurs to be thinking about when they think about hiring a press company?
Well, Google yourself. So if a client, after working with me for a few months, Googles themselves, their
Mm-hmm.
business, and see that they're out there and they're getting coverage and people are responding and engaging, then it's working.
Mm-hmm. Fair. And on that note, there's also, once you're in those kind of publications, you also have a lot of social content to work with.
100%. My lane is press.
Yep.
I stay in the PR lane, but you need to be on social media. And when I hear clients say, "Oh, yeah, I don't have time and I can't afford to hire someone," you're missing out because
Totally.
your clients are on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. And so you have to be where your clients are.
Yeah,
And
you're
if
exactly
you're
right.
not
Even if you don't
sharing,
like it yourself, you have to be there, or you have to put somebody in the business there to manage it because it's where people are, and that's where people spend a lot of their time.
and I had said to a contact recently, "You haven't posted anything in 6 months." "Oh, I haven't had time." I said, "Find an interesting article, post it and comment.
Mm-hmm.
Take a picture of yourself at a networking event, post it and tag the people you're with."
Mm-hmm.
Some things are very, very simple.
Sure.
Talk about a book you read, share a post from someone else who you know in the networking world. But be on social media not a million times a day. You shouldn't be posting 4 times a day. But if you post every day or every other day to start, find something and tag people, engage in a conversation, but especially about press coverage, because that grows. And when you're tagging that media outlet and that media outlet is tagging you, you're reaching their audiences as well.
Yeah.
And it's one of those games of they told two friends and so on and so on. You don't know. You don't know who's going to turn into a client or a customer. So you've got to be out there communicating with different audiences and different methods.
I think you said it very well. You have to be out there. You have to get yourself out there. And again, you got to get out of the comfort zone. I think that's something that entrepreneurs all need to think about and remember is you got to get uncomfortable. You got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And again, once you start doing that, it gets easier. The first post you did on LinkedIn isn't as good as the post you did probably yesterday or this morning because you've been doing it for a while and you've definitely advanced your skills and you kind of think about it more. I know even now that when I post and Taylor on my team, as you know, does a lot of my posting for me, but on the weekends I'll try to post something myself, or if I see something clever or something relevant, I'll post it. And I see myself rewriting it a couple of times where a year or two or three ago I wouldn't have cared. I would have just put it up there. Now I want it to be the best it can be to get the best results out there. And now, I know like on some of my platforms, I have a decent number of followers. So I want, them to see good quality content that we put out.
And consistent, because if someone goes to your social media page and wants to potentially interview you, but sees that you haven't posted anything in 4 months or in a year,
Yep.
they're questioning, well, do I really want to feature this person in my article, on my site, on my podcast? If, it's one hand washes the other. And so everybody, what's in it for me? And so to help that journalist or podcaster or what have you by sharing and tagging, they're going to say, you know what, that's someone I'm going to invite back again. I'm going to quote them again
Sure.
because they're doing for me.
Yep. And
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 I think the world has changed in that we want to do for one another.
that's perfect. That's a great outlook when people think like that because one hand washes the other. And it helps advance all the businesses. And I think that that's a great way to think about it. And I like the local and helping the other small business owners so that everybody moves forward.
Yeah, I had a situation that I know an IP attorney from one of my networking groups. And I work two ways, proactively and reactively. Reactively, I subscribe to a lot of newsletters, databases, private groups. And so I saw a journalist who was doing a story and needed to interview an intellectual property attorney. And so they put out a series of questions. I got in touch with this person I know from networking, asked him, would you like to answer these questions? I'll submit them to the reporter, and maybe you'll be included in the article.
Mm-hmm.
So, he took a half an hour, answered all of these questions. I forwarded it to the reporter. Within minutes, I get a response from the reporter thanking me profusely for forwarding this, and this will be included in his next article.
Wow,
And so
great.
my contact, he's not a client, but I did a nice thing for him. And he said to me, he says, wow, he says, I never thought of how press could benefit my, my firm as
Mm-hmm.
an attorney, but I'm looking forward to this article and thank you for opening my eyes to that. And so I did a nice thing. And hopefully he and his firm will benefit from that article. And maybe they'll say, maybe we need PR on a full-time basis. Who knows?
Absolutely, but I think that you paid it forward a little bit. You sent it to him, you got in touch with them, and then. But again, it's a win-win because the reporter looks at you as a credible source now because you already got this taken care of. He looks at you like, wow, this is great. So it was a win-win for you, and I think that sometimes you plant some seeds for future wins and down the road.
Exactly. And I think it's a numbers game, and every single press opportunity reaches different audiences. And you've got to look at one plus one
Yep.
plus one. And I was on a call a few months ago and someone asked this question. what if you had 300 hot leads on a Monday morning? What would you do? And I said, I don't want 300 hot leads. I'm a solopreneur. However, if I'm selling a product or a book, sure, I would love 300 of that product sold on Monday morning or 300 of that book sold on Monday morning. That would be great.
Yep.
So you have to put it in perspective to what your business is. But if you are operating a service like Andrea Pass Public Relations, you want one plus one. You don't want 500.
And again, you want to deliver a great job for your clients. So you know that as a solopreneur, you know what your capacity is, what your workload is, what you can do, while still maintaining a high level of performance for your clients.
100%.
So that's great. And now, as we get to as we start to wrap up today, let people know where they can find you. So if they're looking for you online, on social media, how can they find you?
Well, my website is AndreaPassPR.com. I do have an appointments tab there. You could schedule a complimentary appointment with me. Please put in the comments that you learned about me through Tom's podcast. So that would be wonderful. So I know. I'm on LinkedIn, Andrea Pass. I'm on Facebook, Andrea Pass Public Relations. And I'm on Instagram, Andrea Pass PR. So please reach out to me and let's chat about a way to grow your business using public relations.
Perfect. Well, Andrea, I really appreciate you coming on Grit Won't Quit today, and I look forward to continuing to keep up with you and chat with you in the future. And have a great day. I know you have a special event today, so enjoy that, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks so much. Have a great day.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.